So angles then, in parallel lines, intermediate tier, C grade at Gcse, so it's towards the end of the intermediate tier paper. So before we start looking at the parallel lines, we need to start thinking about our angle facts, okay? Things that we know, things that we've learned throughout our time at school, anything to do with angles, okay? Because these things pop up all the time. Really basic facts, like we know that's 90 degrees, okay? A right angle, we know these things. Okay, there are different types of angles. Okay, we have acute angles. We know obtuse angles. Obtuse angles, there are things like in a triangle, we know the sum of the interior angles, so each of these angles all add up to 180 degrees. We know that on a straight line, both of these add up to 180. Okay, we know things like isosceles triangles, when these two are the same. So if these sides are the same, these two angles are the same. Okay, now there are probably, well, there definitely are a lot of other facts that we will be using as well, but those there are the main ones we need to consider and make sure we know very fluently, really, before we can start addressing the parallel lines. Now, with the parallel lines, there are different facts that you need to learn, okay? You just need to know them. We'll go through them now. There are, say, there's 4 of them. You might not start thinking about copying these down, making a note of them. Get yourself some coloured pens, get yourself a ruler. You will notice that I've used these arrows, okay? That tells us which 2 lines are parallel. Some of these GCSE questions, you might have 3 lines. You might have 3 lines with a triangle. You'll have all of these different rules all within one question. Now we know like trigonometry could be like 3 or 4 marks. We know simultaneous equations can be 4 marks. One of these, if we have to calculate a lot of different angles, it could be even 5, maybe even 6 marks for some of these questions. So there's a lot of different rules that mathematically are not very difficult. Okay, they're only small things, but when you put them all together, it creates a lot of marks in each question for you. So little rules we need to think of now. So let me use this chunky pen here, and I'm going to look at this angle here. Okay, looking at that angle, it's acute. Okay, it's less than 90 degrees. It looks like the tip of a mouse's nose. Okay, so we know it's acute. Think of a mouse's nose. Mice are cute because they're small. Something to help you remember using it. Something to help you remember these little facts. So if I've got an acute angle here, now there is an angle very close to that one, which is equal to it. That one there. Okay, again, it is acute, but because of this intersecting line, it creates this rule of those 2 are equal. Well, if those opposite are equal, then that one must be equal to that one. So therefore I've got an obtuse angle, another obtuse, and they are equal. Again, down here, where it's intersected again, okay, these 2 here are equal, and those there are equal. So just to make a note of that, opposite angles are equal. Okay, so now looking at this set of parallel lines here now, again I'm going to go for a chunky pen, and I'm going to look at this one again, which is similar to this one here. Now we said that these 2 are similar because I've used the same colour pen because they're opposite angles. But I've also said that this one is the same as well. So that means that this one is the same as this one, which it is, because of that intersecting line going through the parallel lines. Now, I can see a letter there now, which will help me remember that they are the same. And if I just go over the top of here, you can see that the letter Z. Okay, and those of you that have seen these before know them as Z angles, but the proper name for it is an alternate angle. Okay, now alternate angles, let's make that a little bit thinner. Alternate angles are equal. So that's another rule. So we've got opposite angles are equal, and we know alternate angles are equal. Well, yes, there's a Z there, but we also notice these greens here. Now they are alternate as well. It's not a clear Z, it's a bit wonky, but we can see they are alternate to each other. So looking down here then, we've looked at opposite angles, alternate angles, and now this one. So look at these colours again. Well, that green one there, and there's another one down there. Now, there's a rule for that one as well. If I use this thickness of pen now, got the letter F. Okay, the way to remember it is obviously the F angle. Proper word though, corresponding. So it's a corresponding angles are equal. And my last rule over here is this angle here and this angle here. Okay, so I've got different colours now. So different colours, they're not equal. We can clearly see this is an acute angle. This is an obtuse angle. So therefore they cannot be equal. I'm going to use this black pen here. I'm going to show you that we can make the letter C. Okay, way to remember it is obviously a C angle. These two are not the same though. Okay, remember our angle facts that we said earlier? Certain numbers appear with angles all the time, and these two add up to 180. You can see they are inside the parallel lines using this intersecting line. The way you remember it, the proper word for it, if I use a thinner pen, they are co-interior. Okay, think car interior. Okay, it's inside. Obviously exterior then would be outside, but they are inside the parallel lines. So co-interior angles add to 180 degrees. Okay, so opposite angles are equal, alternate angles are equal, corresponding angles are equal, co-interior add up to 180 degrees. Be careful with acute and obtuse angles. So, having this knowledge now, hopefully you've written this down, got it in front of you, we're now going to apply this knowledge to some Gcse questions. Now, what I've got here is just a past paper question, and we need to work out the value of x. As you can see, we've got parallel lines. So straight away, you should be thinking, oh, opposite angles are equal, alternate angles are equal, corresponding angles are equal, co-interior 180. So let's have a look. I'm just going to start filling in things based on this grid here, on this question here. Well, if this is 47, use the number. I know this is 47. This is an opposite angle. I could even work out this one here. I've got a straight line. 180 degrees on this straight line. So that makes this one 133, sorry. This one's opposite, so that was 133. I don't need to fill them all in, but if we're ever stuck, fill in what you can. Right, I've now got this question. I've got parallel lines. I've got a backwards C here. So I've got a co-interior angle, so I could take this away from 180. So 180, take away 47 for 133. But we've seen 133 before. So we could have used the corresponding rule because those are equal. Okay, so there's different ways of giving the correct answer. Some of you might have used the corresponding rule, some of you might have used the opposite rule, and then the co-interior rule. You could even use the alternate rule. We've got a Z angle. So this question is nice because you can use either of the rules to get there, starting with the number they're giving you and then make your way there. That's question 1 on here now. Question 2. Okay, we can see find angle Y. Hopefully now you can see a letter, I can see a Z, therefore it must be an alternate angle. So Y must be the same as this one, as 64 degrees. Whenever it says give a reason for your answer, you must use those words, okay? Don't use F angle in the exam. Please use the word corresponding. The F is just a tool to help you remember if they're equal or if you have to take that away from 180. Okay, this one here. If I screenshot this now so I can write on it, you'll see here, I've got this X angle here. And I start filling in some numbers on these angles to try and work out the value of X. So I've got a co-interior angle here. They both add up to 180. So 180, subtract 113, leaves 67. So this angle here is 67. I then got an opposite angle, which makes X 67. So to give reasons for my answer, we've used co-interior, rule, and here we've used the opposite rule. Going on to a few more difficult questions. Right, now that looks really, really difficult. It's not as bad as you may think. So we've got two intersecting lines now. We've got this one going right through and this one. Okay, so I need to maybe block some things out. And again, there could be different ways of working these out. But I'm going to see if I can see any rules straight away. Well, looking at this X and this 150, I've got a corresponding rule there. So that means that X has to be 150 degrees because I've got the big F angle there. Now, angle Y is a little bit more difficult, but if you can't see it straight away, start filling in some blanks. And then if that's 85, this one's 85. And then we've got a co-interior. So therefore co-interior angles both add up to 180. So 180 subtract 85 is 95. So Y equals 95 degrees. So my biggest tip for you, if I scroll this up here, my biggest tip, fill in what you can. And you'd be surprised, just fill in a couple of blank angles, you'll be able to make your way closer to the letter that they're asking for. There you are, then you can solve it quite straightforwardly. So I've got the tip, fill in what you can. If you've got a little highlighter, you can draw the little F's and the little Z's on there. Find some questions, have a practice, but remember those four angles: opposite, alternate, corresponding, and co-interior. Have a go.